look better.
I'm standing in front of a comfortable home in town of Montreal. Less than 6 months ago, this house was converted into an extension of the Montreal Gazette. The cost of the conversion, less than $5,000. No walls were knocked down, no signs were put up. In fact, not even the neighbors knew anything was going on.
Ted Blackman, radio director and newspaper columnist, has opted for a different way to go to work. He's replaced the daily drive to the office, the hassles of parking, and the office typewriter with a more convenient and relatively inexpensive system, a home computer. The column he writes for the Gazette is done right here in his living room and sent at the speed of light to the Gazette's own computer. Over half the North American labor force is involved in information-related work, whether it be filing facts or calculating figures. Ted Blackman is just one member of that force who's chosen the comfort of working from home. But millions of others could do as he has done and put computers to work in their living rooms. The vast social changes that would produce are still in the realm of the future. But we can see the impact a microcomputer is having on this one man's life.
How did computers change your lifestyle?
Well, it's given me 2 more hours at home than I never had before, and it's eliminated for me the hassle of driving down Park Avenue through the traffic, an hour driving a day through all the slush and that kind of nonsense, which is definitely 3 more hours per day back home here that I spend on the road.
How does it pay off for you then? Is it a luxury or is it really essential?
Oh, well, it's not a luxury anymore. An impulse buy at the beginning, and I thought I rationalized it a bit and said the whole family will be able to use it. And if you don't talk computer language in 1990, they tell me you're going to be illiterate. So give my youngsters a head start on learning how to use a computer so they prepare themselves both mentally and practically for this fast advancing age. So it was an impulse because it's an expensive item, but I've found that since when you amortize it over the years and have 4 or 5 people using it, you find that it's cheaper than a television set and maybe a lot more practical.
Does your family use it?
For certain things, mostly the games right now, the games.
How did management take to your acquisition of a home computer?
Well, they had no choice but to accept it because they are the ones who thrust the computer upon me 4 years ago in the first place when they brought VDTs into the newspaper business.
How did you feel about it then?
I was very suspicious. However, it took about 2 weeks of moving words around and paragraphs around and having machines correct your spelling that I found it very convenient. I would never use one of those old Underwoods again.
And did you get the idea way back then that one day you'd like to have your own?
Well, at the time, I wasn't thinking of all the possibilities then, but when I realized that I could sit at home and just pump the column through a telephone line in less than a minute, rather than have to cab it down or drive it down or whatever, then I said, this is the thing for me. Fed those February days, who needs to drive downtown at 4 o'clock in a snowstorm? I can just pick up the telephone. Or even pick the telephone up. The computer does that too. It dials its own number. You can start a happy hour a lot earlier this way.
Has it changed your writing style at all?
Well, I think it's improved. Well, it couldn't help but improve. There's room for constant improvement every day, but I feel better about it. I really feel that I'm writing when I want to write, and I have a lot more energy. I'm writing when I have energy. There's no gun to my head saying you got to write at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and you're tired, but you'll get through it anyway. I write when I feel like writing, and that's usually when you're full of resourcefulness and energy and enthusiasm.
So if you have a bright idea at 2 a.m., you can just jump out of bed and bang it out.
I could just jump in the living room and pour myself a cup of coffee and start writing, whereas I wouldn't have the same enthusiasm for jumping in my car and going all the way downtown to the Gazette to scribble out 200 words of inspirational copy. It's a lot easier to walk over here and do it, or to just sit back and make hours more productive. I'm an Expo baseball nut. Certainly, it's a lot more pleasant to sit down there with, say, an Expos baseball game on in the corner and follow the ball game and do some work instead of just watching a ball game where you're not productive at all. Those are 3 unproductive hours. They're just entertainment hours. Now they're a combination of productivity and entertainment.
Could you see this procedure working on a larger scale? That is, a network of reporters all filing their stories from their own living rooms?
Well, I don't, right now, reporters are already doing that, and have been doing that before I even got into mine. They're using Gazette equipment, whereas this is a personal piece of equipment. Our correspondents in Quebec City do it that way. Our correspondents in Ottawa do it that way for 3 or 4 years now. People following the Expos and the Canadians, and the football club have all used VDTs to get their copy in. This is just that I bought my own personal one because the Gazette would give me one. Hey, you only live 6 miles from the office, come on in. So if I was going to acquire this convenience, I was going to pay for it, and I did. But anybody else who wants to do it, who feels they don't have to go into the office that particular day to file their story or their column, can certainly use one.
How do you think that would alter the whole newspaper setup?
It would just be a natural extension of what's already being done.
Mm-hmm. You're really involved in radio. Can you see computers being applied to the electronic media?
Oh yes, they already are being applied to radio and television now. The Pulse newsroom at Channel 12 here in Montreal has put in a word processor to store and file and call up all its graphics, photographs, filed footage, film. And I see the day where it'll be in every radio newsroom too around the country. It's a lot easier to punch a key and find out the current standings in the House of Commons or the National Assembly than it is to run around looking through files and asking 5 different people, how many Liberals are there? 133, 138. There was that by-election, that kind of stuff, when you can just go, that, and it's all there in front of you.
Do you have to go into work at all?
Yes, they have not invented a way yet of sending your paycheck to you by a computer terminal, so there still are some things that bring you downtown to the Gazette to pick up a paycheck. Plus, you got to have some human contact with your fellow employees and your superiors to do your best job, so it doesn't totally eliminate the visit to the office, though it could.
How difficult is it to use this computer?
Depends how far you want to go with it. Understand it basically and just write a document. It's a word processor. An experience with a keyboard, a typewriter keyboard, would be able to learn it in a few hours, I think. You know how to use a typewriter?
Sure.
Well, and just pretend this is a typewriter, except watch the screen and tell you where it's different. Electric typewriter or manual do you use?
Both.
Both. Well, and you'll find it. See here. What does it tell you to do? Hit the return button. See it up there? Bang. Find it there. And it'll start to, good. See, you're off to a fine start. Mm-hmm. It talks to you, too. Great. You went from good to great already.
Gives you that needed bit of confidence.
Yeah. There's some games, though, that call you jerk and things like that. You can talk to them. It's company on a long, lonely night, yeah. So you have to type, you're using one, so you type in your answer then. Y-E-S.
Yes.
No, forgot. Return after every command. There you go.
What was your biggest problem in learning to use a computer?
Oh, there was no problem. I have to kind of separate the two. There was no problem in learning how to get my column written. Mm-hmm. There was a problem in learning how to program. I mean, this is something you go to college for. You can spend 6 years in college learning how to be a programmer, but that's to write your own programs. That they are already prepared programs that you can buy that do these functions for you.
And in order to write your column, did you have to have a program made? I
bought this one right here. It's a word processor, and that did it all. There it is. It's called the magic window. That's this word processor. There's all different kinds of them. There it is. That's what I'm working on right now. Say I decided when I'm writing about this guy, Dr. Logie, to put in his age, right? I'll just go up there, split the line, put a comma. He's suddenly 37 years of age, and I remind me to change this after because he's not 37. He died about 1850, and glue the line back together again. Now look, there's his age right in there.
Great.
So it encourages you because it's so easy to write properly. And you know, in this business of communications, a T instead of a W can mean a lot of things. And you say a man is not guilty or he is now guilty because you type a W instead of a T. It comes in very, very handy. Options, call, dial. Okay, Control A. Here's the sending part. Here it is. I'm gone to work. Here it is.
So this is a typical work day at the Gazette for you.
Well, it's finished. It's a lot of work on the phones there. I spent about 2 hours lining up my information and about 20 minutes or 25 minutes to actually typing it into the computer, and now I sit back for the easy part and relax because the column is now going to be transmitted about 1,000 words to the Gazette in less than a minute or so. Since there it is. End of file. We're almost done here. This column is going to be in there very soon. We are going to do a hang-up. See, watch this. The computer does it for me. Done.
Hung up.
Quit.
Quit.
Finished.
It's
Turn it
sent.
off. Done. Work done. Happy hour begins.
A revolution in work style is in the making. The computers are already in place. The software is available at ever-decreasing costs. People are the unknown factor, and it's people like Ted Blackman, working from his suburban home, who are tailoring computers to suit personal needs. I'm Leora Frucht for Futurescope.
Ted Blackman is a good example of the bright side of the emerging computer technology. He has more time to devote to his work, and we're all reaping the benefits of his success. We'll have more on Futurescope after this. Good news for parents and teachers. Spelling doesn't have to be boring for children anymore.
No, spelling's become quite interesting now with this new Speak and Spell compact computer. It's made by Texas Instruments, and you can buy it here in Montreal at CompuCenter. Quite an interesting little thing. You just push enter.
Try again. The word is file.
I spelt it wrong again. I'm Peter Garrett.
I'm Joyce Seedman. Join us again on Futurescope. Good afternoon. I'm Joyce Seedman.
I'm Peter Garrett, and this is Futurescope. The demand for Canadian exports is growing. To meet that challenge, technical innovation becomes a more complex task. CAST North America is a company working towards the needs of the future, and we'll be seeing what they are doing for Canadians today on our show.
We'll also be discussing a new kind of engineering, biomedical, which uses computers to provide support for medical research. We'll be back after this. There's something remarkable happening in the Port of Montreal. It has to do with CAST containers.
CAST believes that it has entered the business of total transportation, combining land and sea carriage. From the beginning, CAST began to build an integrated system to move its boxes from inland point of cargo source to inland point of cargo destination, from door to door, not just from port to port. Futurescope's Marissa Tanieri went to the harbor, and she made some very elevating discoveries.
Montreal is the port of entry for the St. Lawrence Seaway system, a combination of natural and man-made waterways providing easy access to the heart of the continent. Ships must go through locks such as these to reach destination. A lock is an enclosed portion of a channel with gates at either end, used for raising or lowering vessels from one level to another. At St. Lambert, this level is 15 feet. These installations must accommodate vessels weighing as much as 35,000 tons and comparatively longer than the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce building.
Here in St. Lambert at the south end of Victoria Bridge are the first of a series of 15 locks that are part of the St. Lawrence Seaway required to counter the 600 feet difference in sea level between Montreal and the Great Lakes. Man has been forced to change the natural environment and create channels and locks to bypass some well-known natural obstacles, such as the Lachine Rapids and 326 feet drop of Niagara Falls. But with an average of 25 transits per day, 7 days a week, some kind of traffic control has to be done for safety as well as efficiency. The control room for the eastern half of the Seaway, located at St. Lambert Lock, covers 6 locks spread over 190 miles. In this control room, no radar is used. Instead, radio and telephone lines provide for efficient communication flow. A very simple system aids in locating the boat position in the Seaway. Each boat engaged in the Seaway is represented by a block of wood with magnets attached to it. It is put against one of the 2 stripes of steel which are simulating the speed of boats at 1.5 centimeter a minute. Any of the 3 controllers present can then know the exact position of any given boat.
Christine, this is Seaway Iroquois. Go ahead.
This is Christine. We're up at now.
Roger, Christine.
You can transport almost anything with a ship, grain, coal, or even plastic. But since 1970, manufactured and semi-processed goods transportation has been increasingly dominated by the containers, those standard steel modules of 20 or 40 feet in length. This evolution has brought new technology on the harbor front. This container terminal, located in Montreal East, has recently purchased 2 extremely mobile cranes made in Italy and assembled on location, a task requiring 6 months' work. The 50-ton cranes move on 2 rails located along the side of the vessel.
The crane picks a box from a feeding truck and brings it in 100 feet up in the air and as much as 100 feet away to then lower it in the hold of the vessel. The crane is operated by one man who moves along with the container so he can look down inside the hold. He is helped by a signaller who is at the bottom of the ship giving directions to the operator. Although it is operated by human eyes and judgment, the crane's entire electric, mechanical, and hydraulic system is constantly checked by computer cards, which can signal all possible errors. Technology has improved manipulation of these huge structures, making human errors hardly existent. I'm Marisa Tonieri at the Port of Montreal.
With me in the studio now is Mr. Kevin Doherty, Executive Vice President of Task Terminal Limited, part of the CAS Group. Mr. Doherty, welcome to the show.
Hi.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your company, Task Limited, and what its contribution is to the harbor and its association.
Task is a part of the CAS Group which unloads and loads ships. We control the total movement of containers in the Port of Montreal for the CAS Group. We have just innovated the cranes we have just seen. They were installed in December and January of this year. The cranes are of the solid state nature, whereby they also have a
Excuse me, by solid state, what exactly do you mean?
Well, we've done away with a lot of the old-fashioned electrics. Thereby, we don't have any maintenance to do, or at least reduce the maintenance. Like the machinery houses are cleaner. It's something like a computer, though not quite that far.
When you speak of solid state, is there any resemblance between that and what they have in televisions now when they talk about solid states?
Oh yes, absolutely so. Whereby 20 years ago you bought a television set which was massive. Today you can buy a television set that fits on your wrist.
That's right.
It's the same thing with the cranes. We can now compress the workings into smaller machinery houses.
The control unit, the man that's driving that crane or operating that crane, all of his units are of solid state nature, is that it?
Yes, that's correct. And everything is fingertip control.
I see.
He just controls it with maybe 3 or 4 fingers of his hand, plus a knee control for the rotating device which we saw on the cranes, which are unique to the Port of Montreal. We can rotate a container 360 degrees.
What other beneficial aspects does this crane provide for Canada and exports, the possibility of increasing our exports and accelerating the rate at which we can export materials?
Well, what it does, it permits us to turn the ships around faster. Therefore, it permits us to gain another trip on the vessel. Instead of doing maybe 10 trips a year, then we do 11. By going faster, instead of doing 8 containers an hour, you do 40 containers an hour. And this is very beneficial.
Do the ships have to have any modifications made to them in order to accommodate the crane or any of?
No, not necessarily so. In fact, we had to buy the cranes in order to accommodate the ships, because our ships have grown that much bigger. They are now 105 feet wide, and if you want to go to the other side and gain any type of speed, then you have to go to this type of equipment.
I see. How many could you load? How many boxes can you actually load on one of those ships? And
our ships will carry 1,500 one way.
1,500?
Yeah, so a turnaround trip of 3 days is 3,000 containers.
Now, if a train were to come into the harbor and you were to unload all of the material from the ship onto the train, how many train cars would that take?
Well, if you figure 4 20-foot containers to a rail car, then whatever it computes to. But it certainly will make a train close to half a mile long.
Really, as much
yes.
as that?
Very impressive.
Where do most of your materials go when they come?
When they come from here, they fan out throughout North America, mainly Toronto area, Chicago area, Detroit area, and Boston, New England states. This is where they go, and then same thing back out again. They come from these areas and then go back to Europe.
I see. So they're dual purpose.
That's correct, yes.
Your company, in association with CAST, is providing a service that brings these containers from door to door.
That's correct.
So not only do these containers fit on a ship, as well as adopt to the crane, but they fit on trucks also, right?
Yes, they fit on trucks, rail. They are standard. They are 20 or 40-foot lengths, and they're made to fit on rail cars and trucks, and into the typical equipment on the harbor also.
I see.
At the
What else can you tell me about the crane that was recently built, other than what we might have seen, say, on the segment?
Well,
Interesting things, behind-the-scene type of stuff.
The fact that it's in a Japanese design, built in Italy, and transported by ship to Montreal and erected in Montreal. And also that it has this unique turning device whereby we can place a container in any direction, in any shape or form, onto the ship. Most portainer cranes do not have this.
How does Montreal's harbor compare to other harbors in the country now that we have that crane? How much more efficient are we?
We are extremely efficient, and as far as the Port of Montreal goes, it compares very favorably with any port in the country.
So we are well on the way to being the best one.
We are the best one.
That crane, does it belong to Task?
Yes, it belongs to Task, not to the Port of Montreal.
I see. So
it is something put up by CAST and Task.
In cooperation with one another.
That's correct. Well, we being part of the CAST group, we are cooperating together for this new equipment.
What is it made of exactly? Is there any special reinforcements that had to be made?
Well, it's made of one thing, is what we call Canadian winter steel, in order to deal with the climate.
So it's extra durable.
That's correct, yes, because if you take from a 90-degree summer day to a 30 below zero winter day, it has to be able to cope with this. Otherwise, we could maybe eventually have serious problems.
It has a very funny shape. Sort of, it almost looks animal-like.
Not necessarily. It's a typical A-frame type gantry crane, and it's its own design, I guess.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Doherty, for joining us.
You're welcome.
We'll be back with more on Futurescope after this. Just as computers are important in business, so are they equally important in the world of medicine. More and more, computers are helping doctors make new discoveries.
That's right, Peter. Picture the middle ear, one of the more obscure areas of the anatomy. Now picture a computer that can outline and display the intricacies of the inner ear cross-sectionally. This is one of the accomplishments of biomedical engineering. Futurescope's Jeannie Lee recently went to McGill University to see what it's about.
Biomedical engineering. Is it just for making $6 million people? Actually, the field includes any use of engineering to study biological or medical problems.
At McGill University's Biomedical Engineering Unit, work is done mostly in research concerning the human organism. One of the various projects that are presently underway is a database run by Gary Bernstein, which is a control center for cancer research. All incidents of tumors are registered for later information retrieval. Histograms, or vertical graphs, can be called up once variables such as age and frequency of a certain tumor are punched in. As well, muscle control by the brain is also being looked at in a study of control posture. And the mechanical properties and motion of the eardrum is being examined so that damage to the inner ear can be corrected. Dr. John Outerbridge, director of the McGill unit, further defines biomedical engineering.
The most common use of the term is in connection with studies or work on development of instrumentation, particularly electronic instrumentation for medicine and for medical research. And with the maintenance of medical equipment in hospitals, development of artificial limbs and artificial organs and things of this kind. Our particular corner of the field of biomedical engineering here is more concerned with the application of theoretical and computer methods from engineering in fairly basic studies of the human organism.
This is basically the same picture, but you can see that
An example of biomedical engineering as engineering to study medical problems is the work of Dr. Robert Funnell.
All of them, combine them all together to make the overall analysis.
He describes his main topic of research.
Well, one of the main subjects that I'm looking at is how the eardrum and the middle ear work. I'm using the computer to make mathematical models of how they work.
Dr. Funnell shows us the part of the ear he is studying.
Well, I'm interested particularly in the middle ear, which is in here. This is the external ear that we can see on the outside with the ear canal leading in. The eardrum here covers the end of the ear canal, and then you've got the three small bones leading into the inner ear. You can see here the outline of the eardrum and the outline of one of those three little bones that's embedded in the eardrum. Now, because this isn't a very simple structure, it's difficult to analyze. So the basic approach that we use is to divide it up into a whole bunch of simple triangles, which are easy to analyze.
How do you see the knowledge being used in the long run?
Well, in the long run, the clinical usefulness of it lies basically in two areas. For one thing, there are clinically useful tests for studying how the middle ear is working, non-invasive tests so that there's no surgery involved. The basic approach of the test is to send sound waves into the ear canal and then measure what's bounced back. And by analyzing what is bounced back, you can get information about how the middle ear is working. The problem is that the eardrum is sitting in front of the middle ear, and most of the sound is bouncing off the eardrum itself, so it's difficult to see what's going on behind. By having a good quantitative model of the middle ear, we can hope to get more information about what's going on behind the eardrum, so that we can get much more diagnostic information from these non-invasive tests that are easy to do. The other thing is to do with middle ear surgery. There's a lot of work being done now on reconstructive surgery for repairing damaged middle ears. And with a good quantitative model of the middle ear, we'll be able to hopefully design better replacement middle ears and better surgical techniques for repairing middle ear.
In addition to McGill's biomedical engineering unit, research and work on artificial limbs and organs and instrumentation is also being carried out by other Montreal centers. For Futurescope, I'm Jeannie Lee.
Joining me now is Dr. Rob Kearney, who is an associate professor at McGill University. That's right. Welcome to Futurescope. Now, how new is biomedical engineering?
I think it's, as far as in Canada is concerned, it's 15 or 20 years old. But if one goes back and looks at the drawings of Leonardo da Vinci, for example, one can see that he was using engineering there to try and figure out how the human body worked. So one could say it goes back as long as people have been trying to study physiology or biology and medicine using engineering techniques.
Mm-hmm. Now, in the segment that we just saw, are experiments like these, is this typical of what's going on in Montreal?
It's difficult to say whether it's typical. It's typical in one way in that what people are trying to do is to use an engineering technique to study a problem in medicine or in physiology. I don't think you would want to say that all biomedical engineering research is of this sort of nature. What it really amounts to is that there are our group, and there are also a bunch of other groups at McGill and University of Montreal who are doing similar types of research on a wide variety of subjects. And the thing that draws us together, makes us call each other biomedical engineers, is some of the techniques we use rather than the actual problems, the physiological or biological problems that we're interested in.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's an experiment that you're working on, and we have a film clip of what it's all about, and you're going to talk to us while we show that now.
Okay, good.
Okay, so this is a film segment of Dr. Kearney's work.
What the people I work with are particularly interested in is how do you stand up and why don't you fall over? And it's an important problem in that many people are dizzy and do fall over. Basically, what we're interested in is how do the organs of balance, the semicircular canals and the otoliths, interact with stretch reflexes in order to help control posture. So this is an apparatus in which we can rotate a subject around his ankle axis while at the same time moving his ankle back and forth. So by having the bed tilt up and down, this allows us to stimulate the vestibular system, and by moving the ankle, we can stimulate the stretch reflexes at the same time, and then we record the electrical activity of the muscles and the torque generated at the ankle in order to observe what the response is.
Mm-hmm. So what are the implications of your research?
The implications are twofold. One implication is for clinical situations, often people present into a physician's office and say they're dizzy, I can't stand up, what can you do for me? And the problem there is what's wrong with them? Is it a vestibular problem? Is it a stretch reflex problem? And up until now, we really don't have available a sort of specific test which can say, yes, this person's vestibular spinal reflex is normal or it isn't normal. So there is the clinical implication, and from a pure research or more pure idea, it's just the question of how does the central nervous system use information from various types of receptors in order to generate a functionally appropriate response to a stimulus such as a slip or a fall or a situation where something unusual and unexpected happens.
Mm-hmm. Now, they were talking about $6 Million Man. Now, can we look forward to something like that actually existing?
Oh, I think it exists already. I think if one were to add up the available types of prostheses and the amount of research going into things, that $6 million would probably buy you a mouse rather than a man right now. There are, if one says that it costs $40,000 to do a heart transplant, that's just the direct costs. The indirect costs of the research involved to allow you to do a heart transplant are much greater. And I think that one of the things that people in government don't seem to realize is that although people who do research don't contribute directly to the gross national product, the fallout can have much greater positive benefit for the country than otherwise.
And just briefly now, what effect does all of this have on people in general? I mean, what is the ultimate outcome of all this research?
Hopefully it is going to result in better health care, both in the fact that it means that you have people in the universities who are doing research and can teach physicians about these things, and also in that the better one understands how the human body works in normal situations, the better you can cope with situations where something has gone wrong.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us and taking the time to be here. And we'll be back right after this with more on Futurescope. Video games have become an obsession for many people. In keeping with that, now there are pocket video games like this one, which is from CompuCenter and which also doubles as a clock.
This game involves an octopus and 2 deep-sea divers. The object of the game, of course, is not to be eaten. I'm Peter Garrett. Karen.
Oh, I'm Karen Joyce Seedman. Join us again on Futurescope.